evaluation of midpoint voltage in CMOS inverter. Now the term midpoint voltage is also sometimes referred to as trip-in voltage. Okay, this midpoint voltage is also called as trip-in voltage. So basically that is a voltage at the input above which the logic is considered different. Above and below, it is two different logic levels. For example, if it is above, it is taken as a high input. If it is below it, it is taken as a low input. So that's why it is called as trip-in voltage. So we need to find out this voltage for an inverter. So if you go back to our voltage transfer characteristics, so let me plot V in versus V out. Okay, and we looked at various ranges. So this is what I call as VTN, and this is your VDD, and here is your VDD plus VTP. Okay, and output will be VDD until input becomes greater than VTN. So this is your VDD. Similarly, the output is 0. So let me use a different color. So this is our voltage transfer characteristics. It is at 0. In this range. Now, in between VTN and VDD plus VTP, there is a change from VDD to 0. Now how that change happens, if you look at the middle region, now we can draw this with the channel length modulation and without channel length modulation. So I have asked you to study as a part of your previous experiment to see what is the effect of channel length modulation. If you remove channel length modulation, how does the transfer characteristics look like, and in the presence of channel length modulation, how does it look like? So that is something that you have to study. So what you will see is that if channel length modulation is removed, the central part is going to become vertical. Say, let me denote that here. So the central part, for some portion, it is going to look very vertical. I mean, the slope is going to become like infinity or minus infinity, you can say, because it is everywhere it is slope is negative, but when it becomes vertical, it is minus infinity, and after that it just bend around, and so you can draw a smooth curve like this. And similarly here also you can draw it just slightly comes down. Okay, so roughly this is how it is going to look like. So now we can demarcate different regions. This is one region, and then you have another region, yet another region which is very closely spaced, and then the final region. Okay, so this is when lambda is equal to 0. So let me just state that if lambda is the channel length modulation parameter. In SPICE you write LAMBDA. Okay, so we took it to some 0.03 or something like that in the experiment, but if you keep it 0, you will see that here in the middle region it is going to look vertical. Okay, so lambda is taken as 0. So lambda is 0 is a valid condition for long channel MOSFET. Okay, so we are saying basically indirectly we are saying this is a long channel MOSFET. So all the short channel effect we can remove. So we discussed 4-5 short channel effect. One of them was channel length modulation. The fraction of reduction of channel length becomes significant when the total length of the channel is very less. But if it is a long channel, even if you change a little bit reduction, it won't affect much. Okay, so you can take it as 0 for long channel. Okay, so then another thing we said is that in different region, if you look at for this particular region here, region 1 if you call it, here our NMOS is off, NMOS is off, and PMOS, what is the condition about PMOS? So look at the circuit. So let me draw the circuit once again. So here is our input V in, and it is our output. Here is VDD. So we are talking about very small values of input voltage. So VGS is going to be V in minus VDD, right? So this is the PMOS and this is the NMOS. So that's the circuit. So let us denote all VGS and VDS of all the circuit. So first let us look at NMOS and then look at PMOS. So first let us write what is VGS and then we will write VDS. So these are the most important voltages to see which mode each of the devices are operating. So if VGS here you can see that for NMOS VGS is basically V in, but for PMOS it is V in minus VDD. Can you see that? So this is our gate and this is the source, this is the drain, here is the drain, gate, source. So for NMOS source is down, for PMOS source is up. So VGS is V in minus gate voltage minus source voltage, and source voltage is VDD for PMOS. So V in minus V. Now what about VDS? VDS for NMOS is very easy to see, it is V out. Okay, so let us be consistent, so keep it as V out. And then PMOS, what is VDS? It is V out minus drain voltage minus source voltage, which is V out minus VDD. Okay, so now in region 1, so this is what I call region 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So total 5 regions are there. So in region 1, if you look at, there is a small voltage that we are applying, and we assume that output is at a high. Why? Because this NMOS is off and the PMOS is on, and therefore the resistance, channel resistance when it is off is infinity. So all the voltage at VDD will come at V0. It will pass through the NMOS and it will come. So therefore the VDS is very small VDS of PMOS is very small and VGS is a very large negative value, so definitely it is going to be in the triode region. Okay. So that is the case here. And similarly, if you look at here, it is just the opposite. NMOS is in triode, PMOS is in off condition. Okay, no current flows through it. Now if you come here, this is where in region 2 what happens, NMOS will be turned on, but when it is turned on, if VGS here at the input voltage become greater than VTN, NMOS will be turned on. At that time VGS value is very less, but VDS value is very large, so therefore it is going to be turned on into saturation. It's going to be in saturation, and PMOS continues to be in triode region. Okay, so PMOS voltage, so it may change after Vn becomes significantly larger, but it is now just above VTN. That is what we are considering. So it is not, VGS is not a very large negative compared to VGS is very large compared to the VDS of the PMOS. So the discharging as it goes on, the VDS value will increase. It will become larger and larger, but initially the discharging is starting, and that time VDS value is relatively less, so it is continues to be in triode. So if you look at similarly here, it is just the opposite way. You have NMOS in triode and PMOS in saturation. Now in the middle region, that is the region now we are going to look at very soon. Here we have both NMOS and PMOS in saturation. Okay, so if, for example, if you take VDD by 2 input, roughly if you take VDD input as VDD by 2, and then suppose the output is also VDD by 2, then definitely VDS for both the transistor is VDD by 2, which is greater than VDD by 2 minus VTN or VDD by 2 plus VTP. Right? So that is why there is a region where both are in saturation. Okay, now so we are going to evaluate the midpoint. So where there is a point at which input voltage at which it is going to trip. So in order to find that, what we do is we plot a line with 45-degree slope. Okay, let me use scale for this. So you take a line with a 45-degree slope. Okay. So the way I am drawing it may not be very correct. I think there is error in my scale which I have used, because if you see the distance that I am using for x-axis and y-axis, they are not really symmetric. So this is VDD distance here, whereas here my VDD is less. So they are not symmetric, therefore if I draw with the exact 45-degree, it will not be correct. So what I will do is that I will draw with the hand. So if it had been same scale I use in x and y axis, then exact 45-degree I could draw the line, but now I have to draw with an angle which is lesser than, okay, so another thing I can do is I can reduce this angle and draw. Okay, let's do that. Okay. So if I draw a line like this, now what is the equation of this line? This equation of this line is basically V out is equal to V in. This is the line. Okay. So this is actually 45 degree. So I'll write it as 45 degree if both are drawn in the same scale. Okay. Or if it is a different scale, it need not be 45 degree. So better not to say this. Okay. So when you draw it, you make sure that you draw it with equal length, so that it can be drawn with 45 degree, and that is better. So this 45 degree line, or this V out equal to V in line, is going to intersect our transfer characteristics at a point. So that point is what we call as the tripping point, and you will see that this will be happening in the region where both are in saturation mode of operation. So let's say this point where it is so this voltage is what is called as Vm, and if you take the x-axis, if you project into the y-axis, there also it will be Vm, because this line is where all along this line that we have drawn, V out is equal to Vm. Any point, it's not only at this point, any point here it is V out. I mean, it's both the same value. Input and output are the same value, but the inverter will satisfy this condition only at one point. So that point is what we refer to as Vm, or trip-in voltage. So we want to find out what is that voltage. So now, so assuming a long channel device, we will find it out. So what are the equation for current? Okay, so the current, so we are not putting any external load capacitor. We assume all the current is flowing from VDD to the ground, although there are some internal capacitance, but ultimately the current is going to flow from VDD to the ground. So that current, if you look for PMOS, so PDS for PMOS is IDS for PMOS. If you look at it, is this direction. This is IDSP, and similarly downward we have IDSN. So IDSN, which is the drain to source current of NMOS transistor, it is given as, we are taking region 1. Okay, so because this line is going to meet in region 3. So in region 3, where both are in saturation, I can write the drain to source current as beta n. So beta n is the device transconductance. It contains basically Kn, that is process transconductance, multiplied by W by L of the NMOS transistor. So that divided by 2 into VGS minus VTN the whole square. So this is what my saturation due to pinch off. So saturation due to velocity saturation is unlikely for long channel device. That also is a short channel effect. So we are taking saturation equation due to pinch off. Okay, so current gets saturated due to pinch off. Again, channel length modulation also I am not taking because it is long channel, I said. Then I have IDSP. So that is the current through the PMOS, which is given as beta P divided by 2 into, here also it is same equation, absolutely there is no difference. Only thing is, instead of VTN we have VTP, whereas VTP is negative, VGS is also negative, then all square. Okay, and beta P is also negative. So let me write beta P and beta N. This is basically Kn into W by L of the NMOS. And similarly, beta P is basically Kp into W by L of PMOS. So here, so I should here Kn is positive, whereas Kp is negative. Okay, so for NMOS we have derived these expressions, and I told you that all the quantities are negative, having negative sign. So what does that mean? IDSP is negative means the actual direction of the current is through the PMOS is in opposite direction of IDSP, which I have shown here. Okay, IDSP I have shown from drain to source, but actually it is flowing from source to drain in PMOS transistor, whereas in NMOS transistor it is correct, it is in the same direction from drain to source. Alright, so if you want to find out the midpoint voltage in this equation, so let me rewrite now by taking these values of VGS and VGS, which is here. NMOS transistor it is Vin, and PMOS transistor it is Vin minus VDD. So therefore IDSN is equal to beta n by 2. So what is VGS? VGS is basically Vin minus VTN the whole square. Now to find out the trip voltage, Vin should be Vm. So I can say, so this one at Vin equal to Vm. What is it going to be equal to? Beta n by 2 into Vm minus Vtn the whole square. Similarly, I can take IDSP, this is beta P divided by 2. Now VGS is Vin minus VDD. So Vin minus VDD minus VTP the whole square. Now into this equation, again we are saying that we are interested in finding out the case where Vn is equal to Vm. Okay, so if you put that, we will get beta P by 2. It's going to be Vm again minus VDD minus VTP the whole square. Okay. All right. So now the current, the relation between these two current, if you look at, can be written as, we have IDSN, this is a current flowing down, so that is equal to minus IDSP, which is also a current which is flowing. If you take the negative of IDSP, that will be the current that is flowing down through the PMOS, so that should be same, because that is a path, only path through which current can flow. Okay, current is flowing from VDD to the ground, so through the channel of the PMOS it flows, and then the same current flows through the channel of the NMOS. So now we can substitute this expression for current, that is beta n divided by 2 Vm minus Vtn the whole square. is equal to minus beta p by 2 Vm minus VDD minus VTP the whole square. Now note that beta p is basically a negative number, so but minus beta p is a positive number. Okay, so I can cancel this 2 and then I can write Em minus Vtn the whole square. I can write it as minus beta p divided by beta n. Now this is a positive number into Vm minus Vdd minus Vtp the whole square. So this positive number I will call it as R. Let R is equal to minus beta p by beta n. So if I expand this, it is basically minus kp into W by L p divided by kn into W by L n. So that's what we mean. So usually L will be the same for PMOS and NMOS, only W will differ. So we can cancel L and write it as basically minus kp Wp divided by kn W, where we have assumed Ln is equal to Lp. That is usually the case in the design. Okay, so now we take the square root on both sides, taking square root on both sides. So what we will get? Pm minus Vtn. This is going to be a positive quantity, okay, because Vm has to be greater than Vtn, then only the NMOS is going to be turned on and current is going to flow. So this left hand side is to be positive, and therefore the right hand side should also be positive. So whenever I take a square root, I can take either plus or minus. So I should take the value such that the entire thing on the right hand side should be positive. So how do we ensure that? Vm is going to be lesser than Vdd. So what is inside the bracket is going to be a negative quantity. Okay, when I take the square root, if you just look at Vm minus Vdd minus Vtp, that is going to be a negative quantity because Vm is of the order of Vdd by 2 and Vdd is much greater than Vm, and therefore it is going to be negative. So we need to take the proper sign for the square root such that so I will take like this Vtp then minus Vm. Okay. So everybody understand what I mean? Whenever you take a square root, you have two ways of taking the sign, either minus or plus, but you have to choose the appropriate sign such that since the left hand side is positive, the right hand side should also be positive. So if you take the left hand side as negative, then you have to make the right hand side also negative. So we have option on left hand side as well as right hand side to choose plus sign or minus sign. Okay, so now this is the equation we finally get. Now Vm is there on both sides, so let us bring the Vm on the right hand side to the left hand side and shift Vtn to the other side. So it will become Vm into 1 plus root R, 1 plus root R, Vm into 1 plus root R. Otherwise, maybe a better way of even better way of doing it is define the square root as R. So let's do that. If I take the square root of this, as the, so I'll do it like this. So that will make the expression a little more neat. So I can always define this R whatever way I want. So here it is R. Okay, so R is defined as square root of minus beta p divided by beta n. So minus beta p is positive, divided by beta n, that is also positive. Positive by positive is going to be a square root of a positive number, so that is what I call it as R. Okay, so let's take now Vm to the other side. So we will get Vm into 1 plus R. So Vm, that is Vm into 1 plus R. What is it equal to? We can take the Vtn to the other side, Vtn. Then what are the other things which are there? We have VDD plus VTP into R. So it is R into VDD plus VTP. Therefore, finally we get the expression that we were looking for. Vm is equal to Vtn plus R into VDD plus VTP divided by 1 plus R. So this is what is called as the trip-in voltage. So if input is less than this Vm, it is considered as logic 0. If the input is above Vm, then it is considered as a logic high. Okay, the reason is that if input is less than Vm, definitely the output is going to be greater than Vm. Okay, so it's something like a seesaw. So when both are equal to input and output are equal, that is when input is Vm, it's like the seesaw is in the flat condition like this. Okay, so here it is Vm, here it is also Vm. But if input goes little high, what will happen? It will bend like this. Right? So the tripping point is basically Vm. So here input greater than Vm, so output will be less than Vm. And similarly, you can see that if input is less, okay, if input is less than Vm, then output is going to be greater than Vm. So that way you can identify the logic. So that tripping point, the middle point, is when input is same as Vm. Okay. So then output is also Vm. Alright, so that's basically the tripping point for long channel device. Now, can we do something similar for short channel device? In fact, we can do it, but it's going to be slightly more complicated. But if you neglect the channel length modulation and only take into account of the velocity saturation, then you can still work it out without much difficulty. So all you need to do is that you need to take the current expression for velocity saturation. So let me also do this quickly. Derivation of trip-in voltage for velocity saturation. For devices operating in velocity saturation regime. So all you need to do is the approach is the same. you have to take your IDSN equal to minus IDSP. So that is beta n. Now the expression is basically VD sat n, beta n into VD sat n into VGS minus VGS minus VTN. Now VGS is basically V in minus VTN minus VD sat by 2, so VD sat n by 2. So this is the NMOS current. Now to be more accurate, you have to add the channel length modulation here. You cannot really neglect it, but that is going to make the whole thing really it will become quadratic expression, and then you have to solve the quadratic equation. You can still do it, but okay, so let me just write the equation, and then so you can have 1 plus lambda n VDS. So VDS is what? VDS for NMOS is basically V out. Okay, so this is equal to, on the other side we have beta P into VD sat P into VGS is basically VDD minus VGD minus VIN, right? VGS minus VTP so sorry, it should be VIN minus VDD. So VIN gate voltage minus drain voltage, okay, minus VTP, then minus VD sat P by 2 into 1 plus lambda P, and what is this VDS? VDS is basically not V0, it is V0 minus VDD. So this is the expression for the current under velocity saturation condition. Okay, so beta n is, as before, it is Kn into W by L of n, that multiplied by VD sat into VGS minus VT. So VGS is V in and minus VTN minus VD sat n by 2 into channel length modulation. So this is basically channel length modulation. Similarly here also channel length modulation. Okay, so now to find Vm, what we do, Vm is such a voltage, when you apply at the input we will get V out also as the same. That's a definition of Vm. Okay, where the seesaw is getting balanced. So you put in wherever V in and V out comes, you put Vm there. So VD sat. So Vm you can put here, VT Vd sat by 2 into 1 plus lambda n Vm is equal to beta p Vd sat p. Vin is again Vm minus Vdd minus Vtp minus Vd sat p by 2 into 1 plus lambda p into Vm minus Vdd. So this is the equation that we need to solve, and you can see that already the expression is not very simple. If you take the channel length modulation also into account, there is a Vm multiplying Vm, and that will make a Vm square. So it is basically a quadratic equation. You get a quadratic equation in Vm, and then using the formula you can find out the Vm. There will get two solutions. You have to check which is the correct physically possible solution, so that has to be taken. So another way we can proceed is like just to neglect for simplicity. So to avoid mathematical complexity, we neglect channel length modulation. So what we will do is that we will drop these two terms. So this is our CLM modulation term, and similarly here also there is a CLM. So we will neglect those terms for the time being. So we will drop it. So we will take it as 1. So then it becomes easier to solve. So it's an approximation. Okay. So it doesn't mean that it is not there. Actually it is there, but to solve for Vm in the presence of channel length modulation is little tedious, and still it is not impossible to do. It is relatively easy but it will have lot of algebra to keep track. So let us look at a simpler approximate solution. So V sat, so that will give you this minus Vtm minus Vd sat 2 is equal to, okay, I forgot to do one thing, which is I have to put a minus sign here, because beta p have to put a negative sign here. It is minus IDSP, so you have to keep track of that minus sign. Okay, now again as before we can define something as R. Let R is equal to let R is equal to beta P into Vd sat P divided by beta N into Vd sat N. Okay, I am not putting the minus sign now. That's because my beta p is negative and Vd sat p is also negative. So that beta p into Vd sat p together it is positive quantity. So I want to define R as a positive quantity, and beta n and Vd sat both are positive. So this is like a positive quantity. So this, if I expand it as before, taking L as the same for NMOS and PMOS, I can write it as Kp into Wp VD sat P. So WP is a design parameter. KP and VD sat P are process parameter. Here Kn. So this is negative. This is also negative. So negative into negative, positive. And similarly Kn into Wn into VD sat N. Okay, so where I have assumed Ln is equal to Lp, which is usually the case. We usually change while designing. All difference will be only taken in the width of the MOSFET. So under that approximation, therefore we get Vm minus Vtn minus Vd sat n by 2 as R or minus R into Vm minus Vdd minus Vtp minus Vd sat P by 2. So that's what we will get. Now if we simplify this by collecting all the terms that involve Vm to one side, so you can see that Vm into 1 plus R you can take on one side, and all the other terms you can keep it on the so we have Vtn then plus Vd sat n by 2. Okay, so these two terms I took it to the other side, then I absorb the minus sign inside and I write plus R into all the terms become positive, so that will be Vdd plus Vtp plus Vd sat divided by 2. Okay, Vtp and Vd sat divided by 2, they are negative quantities. VDD is positive. So or Vm, the tripping voltage in this case is so this divided by 1 plus. Okay, so this is relatively easier derivation if you neglect the channel length modulation, but if you include that also, in fact you should do it. If you want accurate expression for Vm for short channel device, you have to include that. And one more thing I want to specify, the experiment you have done where I demonstrated with the non-zero channel length modulation, and there was no vertical portion in the transfer characteristics, it was slanted. Okay, the slope was never becoming this 90 degree, but it was lesser than that. Okay, so that's about Vm. Now the rest of the class I want to discuss about noise figure. So we can calculate what is called as noise figure from the voltage transfer characteristics. So let us see how. First of all, we need to define what is noise figure. So for that, again I have to draw the voltage transfer characteristics. So this time let us draw it more properly. So let's take roughly same . it has to be little. Okay, so roughly I hope it is similar length, and okay, let me use a different color. So this is where it is 0, and then somewhere in the middle I have 90-degree slope. Again, this is for short channel, and then I have a bended curve. Okay, so roughly this is the ETC. So this is our ETN, and this is our VDD plus VTP, and this is VDD. So is this. So x-axis is V in, y-axis is V out. Okay, so now our aim is to find out noise margin. Before finding out noise margin, let me define what is noise margin. So to define noise margin, so what is the influence of noise in the transistor? Suppose we are applying a low voltage. So we are here, we are applying this voltage, okay, and there is some noise at the input which is like this. What is the effect of that noise at the output? Absolutely no effect. Why? Because output voltage is steady, VDD. Even if it is varying here, it doesn't have any effect. So it is, the noise is not coming at the output. Even if the input has noise, the output has no noise. This is one of the advantage of digital circuit. So whenever it is in the output is at logic high, and you have a logic low input which has some noise on it, but the output at the output of the digital circuit, you don't have that noise reflected. So in a way, like the noise is not transmitted to the output. So that's a great advantage of digital circuit, and that's why everything is getting digitalized because of this advantage. I mean, of course there are various other advantages, but this is one major advantage. Otherwise the signal quality will degrade with more and more circuit. Okay, but here it's getting improved. You are able to recover the signal completely from the noise. Similar thing happen when you give a logic high. Say suppose we have a voltage here and we have noise here, but output is without any noise. Okay, so you can see that it is steady 0 and it has no noise. Similarly, when output is at high also, even if the input has noise, it doesn't affect. But the case is different between VTN and VDD plus VTP. So between VTN and VDD plus VTP, the noise at the input will get transmitted to the output. That means output will also vary in response to the input noise. Okay, and where it is more significant, it depends upon exact location. For example, if you are here, you are at this point, and suppose there is a noise here. So again, like before, so what will happen? There is going to be a slight variation like this. but the effect is not as big as the input. The output will have a relatively lesser variation, okay, because you see the slope is really less. So for say a variation of 1 microvolt at the input, we may get something like 1 by 4 microvolt. Similarly, this edge also same thing happens. So if it is here, you have a noise like this, then the variation is less. So that means the noise which is coming at the output is not really large, it is suppressed by some extent. But the case become very serious when you have this device operating at the midpoint, somewhere near the midpoint. So here if you have like previously, if you have similar amount kind of noise, for that variation it would vary something like this. So you will have something like this, okay. So input is varying only little, but output is varying too much in that region, because slight variation here in amplitude, if you look at from here to here, so this is the variation we are talking about. So input is varying only this much, but correspondingly the output is varying too much. It's varying this much. So that has high amplification. So it's like an amplifier. So it's like a noise amplifier. So we should not let the device work in that region. So we should limit our input voltage operation such that it will be operating in regions only where the noise is getting suppressed, not amplified. So how do we make sure this? So we need to fix certain points of operation. So the 2 points of operation which becomes critical is here. One is here and the other is here, and I will tell you why. The reason is that at these points, if you look at the slope, it is basically -1. Okay, so this has slope equal to -1. It's a negative slope, as you can see. This also similarly negative slope. Now -1 is very significant, because if I go at this point, so let's call this as point 1, and similarly here I will call it as point 2. So if the input voltage is lesser than 0.1, the gain is going to be less than 1. That means it is suppressing or attenuating. The noise is getting suppressed. Similarly, if the input voltage is beyond 0.2, then also the slope is going to be lesser than -1, where the gain is lesser than noise getting amplified with an inverted sign, but the amplitude is getting suppressed. But between 0.1 and 2, so we have noise amplification. So especially between points 1 and 2, there is noise amplification, because the slope is greater than 1 or greater than -1, or I should say the magnitude of the slope is greater than 1. Noise amplification, as the slope of VTC, you see, VTC has an amplitude greater than 1. All the places the slope is negative, so I am talking about amplitude greater than 1. So that will be amplification, otherwise it is attenuation. So attenuation is good, noise is suppressed, output has lesser noise than the input, that is good. So we need to operate the device either before 0.1 and beyond 0.2. So we will define those voltages at the input and output corresponding to 0.1 and 0.2 as this. So first of all, let me so if I just drop a perpendicular from here, okay, I will get a point. Similarly from point 2 also I can drop a perpendicular where it is slope is -1. And I can drop a horizontal also. Okay, so I get 4 voltages. If I mark these voltages, so this voltage is called VIL. We will call this voltage as VIL. This voltage I will call VIH. This voltage I will call it as VOL, and this voltage is I will call it as VOH. Okay. Now the noise margin. So what are these voltages? Let me define now. VIL is the maximum. It is the maximum input voltage that may be treated as logic 0 input. Okay, maximum input voltage that may be treated as logic 0, that is enough. Okay, or low level. So that is, so any voltage from 0 to VIL will be treated as logic. So this is the range of voltage which will be treated as logic low. And similarly VIH is the minimum input voltage that will be considered as logic 1. Okay, so you can see here from here to VDD. Okay, this is the range, but in between there is a range which is between these two where it is uncertain. We do not know where noise plays important role, it gets amplified. So we need to avoid that region. So we limit the input voltage logic low as from 0 to VIL, and logic high as voltages from VIH to VDD. Okay, so in other words, logic low is from 0 to VIL, and so this is at input, and logic high is from VIH to VDD. So this is the range that we have, range of voltage at the input. Now same thing you can talk about at the output also. So we have VOL is the, what is VOL? VOL is the so VOL is the low voltage that is available or produced by the circuit, or this is the maximum output given when the output is at a low state. This is the maximum, because if you increase the input beyond VIH, then you are going to get 0 as the voltage. But the maximum output voltage corresponding to the low state output is VOL. Similarly, VOH is basically is the minimum output voltage corresponding to high state. So you can see that VOL is very close to 0 volt, and VOH is very close to VDD. Okay, so that is a good approximation. You can see almost very close. Both are like very close. And that's another advantage of CMOS, that it improves the logic levels. Okay, input can be like much away from 0. It could be anywhere from 0 to VIL, but once you pass it through the inverter, its output will get quite very close to VDD. Okay. Similarly, if the input is like in a range anywhere from VDD to VIH to VDD, it will bring that out, the corresponding output, to very good logic 0, which is close to 0. So that's so now we can define what is called noise margin. So noise margin for low state is defined as, that means how much noise we can tolerate. So how do we define? So for low state, if the transistor is providing or the inverter is providing an output VOL, and if you are giving that as input to the next stage, it can have voltages up to VIL that can be given. So VIL is much larger than VOL, so there is a range of noise which is permissible. So VIL minus VOL. Okay, so in output of one stage of inverter, so if you look at, so this is an inverter, so this will produce a good logic low, okay, which is what I refer to as VOL. But now this is feeding to some other inverter. Now this inverter can take voltages up to VIL. Okay, so VIL is somewhere here and VOL is here, which is, so this range, this much noise I can tolerate, because the noise will not get, this much space I can provide for the noise. So noise tolerance is there. So that is what I call it as noise margin for low level. Similarly, noise margin for high level is basically, I give at the output VOH, which is like very close to VDD, and but I can have the input need not be very close to VDD. Even if it is little less than VDD also, I will be able to take it as a high state. Okay, so in the case of high state, it will be like this. So VOH I provide, but I don't need VOH. I can adjust with VIH. Okay, so this is basically noise margin for high state. So here it is noise margin low state. So this is VOH minus VIH. Okay, so this much space is available on the top of the output voltage produced by the inverter. I can have lot of noise, and the positive noise doesn't make any problem, but negative noise I can allow up to the tolerating limit, that is VIH, where the slope is minus 1. So this way, if I know these 4 voltages, I can find out what is called as the noise margin of CMOS inverter. Now the question is, can we find out this voltages? How to find out these voltages? So we know the region of operation for point 1 and point 2. So which in the earlier diagram I have denoted it. For point 1, NMOS is saturation and PMOS is in triode. So I know that. So I can use that knowledge to calculate these voltages. Okay. So first step 1, to find VIL and VOH, to find V that at point 1. Okay, so what I do is basically I equate, so the current has to be same like before. My ID SN is equal to minus ID SP. So it is the same current equation, but now the NMOS is in, it is going to be so I am going to do this for a long channel device. So NMOS is going to be in saturation region, as I told you, that is region 2. We are looking at region 2 in the first figure. Okay, that is where our point 1 is located, just above the VTN, where the voltage begin to reduce and becomes slope become minus 1. So we know the slope. And what is slope? Slope of VTC is basically dV0 by dVin. Okay, so we are looking at the case where this becomes minus 1. So what we do is that we write the equation for current and equate like this as before when we found out trip-in voltage. In a similar way we start with, but now the only difference is that the NMOS is in saturation and PMOS is in triode region. So we need to write the appropriate equation. So here our NMOS is in saturation and PMOS is in triode region. So therefore IDSN is basically beta n by 2 Vn minus Vtn the whole square. So that is going to be the equation of the current. Okay, VGS I have taken it as Vn, that is for NMOS. Similarly minus beta p into, for triode region we have the equation VDS into, VDS is what? V0 minus VDD. So this is our VDS into VGS minus VT. Now VGS is what? Vn minus VDD VGS minus VTP, then this minus VDS by 2. So VDS is basically V0 minus VDD by 2. I hope you are following what I am writing. So what I am writing is, this is VGS minus, so this is my VGS and this is my VDSP. So this is VDSN. Again, this is my VGSP, and this one is again VDSP by 2. Okay, so that's the triode equation. Hope you are remembering that. Now what I do is differentiating. So to find the slope, I need to take differentiation with respect to V in. Differentiating with respect to V in on both sides. So what will I get? So beta n by 2 into 2 into V. There is a V in inside. So I apply chain rule. I first differentiate with respect to this function, and then I will get 2 into this, then differentiation of what is inside, which is 1. So that is equal to minus beta p. So here there are 2 terms. So I will apply a big bracket and first function into derivative of the second. So wherever V in or V out, we have to do the derivative. So here there is V in, and that will become 1. VDD is constant, VTP is constant, so derivative becomes 0. Now there is a V naught here. So it's basically minus V naught by 2. So it will be dV naught by dV in, and that is minus 1. So I can write it as plus half. Okay, so I used this relation. So I am taking derivative with respect to V in. So dV naught by dV in, I will take it as minus 1. So minus 1, if I substitute there after taking derivative, I will have minus of minus 1 by 2, so which is plus half. Now I am applying, so this is first term into derivative of the second, now plus derivative of the first. So that is going to be derivative of dV naught by dV in, so that is going to be minus 1 into the second term. So second term we just write as such, minus VTP minus 0 minus VDT, right. So this is what I will get, close the bracket. Okay, so now I need to simplify this. So let us take this term and go to the top. Copy. So this is our point 1. Okay, so paste. Okay, so this is what we have. Now I can cancel few things here. You can cancel this. Now what is my V in? V in is basically VIL. So VIL. So V in is equal to, at point 1, let me write like that, at point 1 my V in is equal to VIL and V out is equal to VOH. So I can substitute for V in as VIL and then minus VTN. I will take this beta n to the other side, and then minus beta p by beta n. Again I will take it as r. So r into, now 1 plus half is 3 by 2. So I can write it as 3 by 2 into V naught by VDD. Then I have here there is so V out is what? VOH. This is VOH. V out is that, and then so let us take this minus sign inside and write it as plus VDD plus VTP, VDD plus VTP. That is a constant. Then Vn is also there, so that will become negative. So negative Vn is VIL, and then one more term which is plus V naught is VOH. Yeah, so that is it. Okay, so there is a VIL on the right and on the left, so you can take it to the other side, so it will become VIL into 1 plus R. Okay, so that becomes, and if you look at, I can combine the first and the last term, both as, this is basically 3 by 2 VOH minus VDD, this is half, so 3 by 2 plus half is basically, I can take this VTN to the other side, so VTN then plus R into, so this will become 2, 1.5 plus half, so that is 0.5, that is 2. Then yeah, this plus VDD plus VTP. Okay, or can write VIL as VTN plus R into 2 VIH minus VDD plus VDD plus VTP, the whole divided by 1 plus R. So that is say equation 1. Similarly, now we can do the same for at point 2 to find VIH and or find the relation between VIH and VOL. We consider point 2. Now in point 2 what happens? NMOS is in triode region and PMOS is in saturation, just the opposite. So same procedure, I will quickly write. Start with the IDSN is equal to minus IDSP, that is in triode region the equation is beta n into VDS. VDS is basically V naught for NMOS, and then in bracket we have VGS minus VT. VGS is V in minus VTN, then minus VDS, which is V0 by 2. So this is for NMOS, and minus beta P by 2. VGS minus VGS is V in minus VDD minus VTP, the whole square. Okay. Now differentiating with respect to V in, what we will get? Beta n. So dV0 by dV in. So there are two terms here now. So I can take big bracket first term into derivative of the second. So what is the derivative of the second? You look at here, there is a 1. Here there is a 1, and then there is a dV0 by dV in, which is minus 1. So minus minus, it will become plus half. Okay, and let me put the other bracket. So this is the derivative of this square bracket term, plus now derivative of the first, which is minus 1, into whatever is in the bracket, that is dV in, sorry, V in minus VTN minus V0 by 2. So that is the left side. Similarly, now if you do the right side differentiation, you apply chain rule, 2 into this term into 1. Okay. Alright, so you can cancel these like before. We can take beta n to the other side and define let beta p minus beta p by beta n is equal to r. So that will give you now 1 plus half, that is 3 by 2. So 3 by 2 here, and there is also a V0 here, that is plus half. So there is a 3 by 2 V0 here, and there is a plus V0 by 2. So I can combine it and write it as 2 V0. So 2 V0. Then yeah, so this is basically minus V in plus VTN. So this is the left hand side. I am taking beta n to the other side and write it as R into V in minus VDD minus VT. That's it. So now I can substitute when V in is basically, this is 0.2, so where V in is basically VIH, we have, that's the time we define V out as VOL. So if you substitute that, so we get 2 VOL minus VIH plus VTN is equal to R into V in is VIH minus VDD minus VT. Okay, so now we can rearrange this and find the expression for VIH. So there is a VIH into R on the right side. So let's take this VIH to the other side I can write it as VIH into 1 plus R. Other term I will take it to the left hand side. So it is 2 VOL plus VTN now plus R into VDD plus VT. That is VIH is going to be equal to 2 VOL plus VTN plus R into VDD plus VTP divided by 1 plus R. Okay, so let's put this in a box. So this is equation 2. So we have two equations, one for VIH and the other for VIL. Okay, so we need to combine these two equations. First of all, what we can do is we can find the difference between these 0.1 and 0.2 on the x-axis, which is basically VIH minus VOL. 2 minus 1. So let me just take this equation and copy this. Let us put them side by side. So this is your VIL. Okay, this is our equation 1. So if I subtract our let us subtract basically the equation 1 from 2. Equation 1, let us subtract from equation 2. So 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1. What will we get? LHS become VIH minus VIL. RHS, there is going to be some cancellation. As you can see, there is R into VDD plus VTP here, and here also R into VDD plus VTP, and there is a VTN also. So those terms will be cancelled. Okay, so let's write what is remaining. So what is remaining here? This 2 VOL will remain. 2 VOL, and then VTN will get cancelled from this equation 2. R into VDD plus VTP will also get cancelled. So from the first term, this is the surviving term, or from equation 2, what is surviving is 2 VOL. Everything else will be gone off by the cancellation with the equation 1. And then from equation 1 we have an additional term that is basically this 2R into So since it is subtraction, so it will become minus 2R into VOH minus VDD. So this divided by 1 plus R. So this is basically the region where we should not let the input remain during the steady state operation. We should not allow. So this is something like a forbidden region, where if the signal goes in, then because of the noise, many uncertainties are there, like signal can get corrupted. I mean, high state can be in the presence of a low noise, small low noise, it can be considered as a low state, or low state in the presence of a positive noise can be considered as a high state, because it's very sensitive. There's a lot of noise amplification. So this is the range which is to be avoided. Okay, so another thing is like your VOL is basically very close to 0, and your VOH is going to be very close to VDD, and usually the difference between VOH and VDD is same as VOL. Okay, so what I mean is, if you look at this diagram, so here there is VDD. So let me just little bit show it like this, and then okay, so this difference VDD, and this is our, so here is our VDD, VDD is the top point, whereas this orange line, that is our VOH as it is shown here. So this is our VOH. So this difference is VDD minus VOH. VDD minus VOH. Okay. Let me write it here. VDD minus VOH. This difference and this difference. This is just VOL. So VOL and VDD minus VOH. For symmetric CMOS inverter, they will be the same. So this can be written as, so this is 2 VOL, and this is 2R into VOL. So minus 2R into VOL by 1 plus R. Sorry, this is plus. Okay, VDD minus VOH is VOL. So where we have used VDD minus VOH as VOL. So therefore I can take 2 VOL outside and cancel with 1 plus R. So therefore delta, we can call it as this at the input, this region which we should avoid, that range of voltage between low and high at the input is equal to 2 VOL. Okay. So this, if I take 2 VOL outside, it is 1 plus R by 1 plus R. So that will get cancelled off. So it is equal to 2 VOL. Okay, so these are really close. Since VOL is very small, what we can say is that if you look at the diagram, so this point 1 and point 2 So here I have denoted it like this. This is point 2 and this is point 1. So this is what we are saying at us. This is 2 VOL. That is what we got. Okay, so 2 times this difference is basically. So this you can verify when you do the experiment. You can calculate the noise figure from the graph that you get, and then you can evaluate your VIH, VOH, all the 4 voltages, similarly VIL and VOH. So you take this graph that you get through simulation, and then find out the point where the slope is -1, and then you can get 2 points, point 1 and point 2, and with that point you can find out the corresponding input voltage and output voltage. You get 4 voltages, and then what you do is verify with this theoretical calculation whether it satisfies these equations, that 1 and 2 that we have derived, and also check whether your delta I LH is 2 VL. Okay, so here you have to take for verification of these equation, you have to take zero channel length modulation. Okay, so that means you have to put your lambda in the SPICE model. Lambda should be set as 0, then only you will get long channel MOSFET. Okay, and all the short channel effect you can avoid. Okay, you can put them 0. I think the default value is 0. So only give VT 0, VTP for PMOS and NMOS. The threshold voltage you have to specify, and that also you can specify symmetrically, like taking both one as say 1 and the other as like -1. So, and then see what is the graph that you get, from which you can find out all these values. Okay, now another thing I want to discuss in the remaining 10 minutes is that if you go back to the trip-in voltage, so here is the calculation for trip-in voltage. We got finally an expression like this. This was our expression, right? For a long channel device, this was our trip-in voltage expression. So here what was our R? R is basically square root of beta minus beta P by beta M. Let me just verify that. Yeah, R is basically minus beta P by beta N. So which I can write it as minus Kp WP divided by Kn WN. So which is equal to square root of minus Kp. Kp is a negative quantity, WP by N. So L for both transistor I am taking same. Okay, another thing is VTN and VTP. So now you can see what is the effect of increasing VTP, keeping R to be 1. So usually the design parameter WP and WN are done in such a way that so usually, this is most of the case, whenever you design an inverter, we follow this, that is WP by WN. We will take it as Kn by Kp, and Kn is usually 2.5 times larger than Kp, okay, or 2 to 3 times. So you have to adjust your WP to be such that it is WP is by same amount, it is larger than WN. So we will see the consequence of not keeping that way in the design of inverter when we discuss maybe in the next class, when we will discuss about the dynamic characteristics. So far it is all static characteristics we are looking at. So Wp by Wn, that is width of the PMOS, should be 2.2 to 3 times larger than width of the NMOS, such because Kn is usually, so Kn is what? Kn is basically mu n Cox, and this one is mu p. Okay, so I have to take modulus here, mu p Cox, and Cox usually they are same, but mu n is the mobility of electron is roughly 2.5 times larger than mobility of holes. Okay, so that is why. So this like an intrinsic material, I think mu n is something like 1300 in the standard units, and whereas mu p is something like 500. So 1300 by 500, we can see that it is something like 2.5 times or close to 3 times larger. So therefore we have to keep, in order to counter that difference, the design is done in such a way that Wp is same amount, it is greater than Wn. Okay, we will see that later. Now the point I want to make now is like Vm, the tripping voltage, how does it get influenced with the Vtn becoming larger? So you can see that if Vtn become larger, assuming that your R is 1, you can just do the calculation. You see that it is going to become greater than VDD by 2. Okay, so you can if you keep Vtn and Vtp as same magnitude and R equal to 1, then denominator is 1 plus 1, that is 2, and numerator Vtn will cancel with Vtp and R is 1, so it is VDD by 2. So trip in voltage is VDD by 2, that means it will trip exactly at the middle voltage provided Vtn is equal to minus Vtp and R equal to 1. But if R equal to 1 and Vtn is increasing, then your Vm will be greater than VDD by 2. So that is something that you have to verify from the. So this is the transfer characteristics for. So even here I have taken, I think Vtn is larger than minus Vtp, right? So this is my minus Vtp, this much is my Vtp, and this much is my Vtn. So I have taken Vtn larger, and as a result you can see that the midpoint is somewhere here. VDD by 2 is somewhere here, whereas your Vm is greater than that. So if I decrease my Vtn, what will happen? If I decrease my Vtn, so it will start bending from here early, and then it will go like this. So this is for a low value of Vtn. So depending upon the relative value of Vtn and VDS, Vtn and Vtp, there is a shift in the transfer character. So that you have to observe. You have to take different values and see that. Vary only one at a time and see what is the consequence. Okay, and if you are not changing your Vtp, but only Vtn you are reducing, then the curve will start bending like this, but then it will go something like this. Okay. So different ways your transfer characteristics will modify. So you have to verify that. Maybe something like this. And similarly, if W is increased or your R is increased, what is going to happen? So if you look at the expression for R, If your R is getting increased, means WP is increased relative to Wn. Okay, so that also you have to study what is going to happen. So if WP is getting increased, to which direction this shifting will happen? So it is very difficult to say from the equation, because R is in both numerator and denominator. So it is something that you have to see, and then you have to look at what is the reason for that. Okay, so WP, if it is increasing with respect to Wn, such that R is going to become larger than 1. If it becomes larger than 1, what is going to be the effect on the voltage transfer characteristics? So that also you have to study. So I will stop here.